UNC is like a prison. You're not allowed to say certain things, but once you get out of jail, you're free. I'm in my sentence, and I'm doing my time. Rashad McCants, born September 25th, 1984. Today's feature is of a guy that to label misunderstood, weird, or even crazy would not be too far-fetched, and more than likely to the people that knew him, a commonality. In my opinion, the perfect case of how attitude can determine your altitude. Had he have a better one, his name and legacy could be really special in many eyes. Stories like this one really upsets me to see such great raw talent go to waste. Salute to my guy Andrea Bezino for the request. It's your boy JC Stunted Growth. As a basketball player, you want two things to happen. Have a great career where you make it to the NBA and also have the respect of your peers, fans, and the media that covered you during your stay. I think it's safe to say McCants has maybe one of those. Although he managed to make it to the league, he went on to do some things that consistently alienated him from other players, teammates, and coaches. Because of his attitude and lack of personal responsibility, he only lasted 249 games in the league and was one of the biggest letdowns during his 4 seasons. Here's why. Stunt number 1, scoring is what I do, and all I do. Rashad is from Asheville, North Carolina. He would move to New Hampton, New Hampshire to finish his schooling. As a senior, he led New Hampton to the 2002 New England Prep School Class A Championship and was named MVP of the title game. He was also named to the Parade All-American and McDonald's All-American teams. McCants was a beast in high school and looked like a definite contributor on the next level, simply based on his stature and NBA-ready game. Although he wasn't the biggest shooting guard, he was still a really good shooter, leaper, and solid IQ player. We've seen a guy like Bradley Beal, and immediately my mind thinks of what McCants could have been if he had worked on his game more and opened his eyes and realized what position he was in. He would commit to UNC along with Raymond Felton and Sean May. Rashad stepped onto the scene at Carolina and immediately exerted his dominance. By year's end, he was the leading scorer on the team at 17.5 points a game and all ACC rookie team. I just knew he would leave as a freshman and thought his chances were really good at being a top 10 pick. But because of the disappointing year UNC had, only making the NIT, one and done wasn't really a thing then, and scouts wanting to see more from McCants, he decided to come back. But more isn't exactly what was seen. Instead, Rashad coming back for not 1 but 2 more seasons only exposed the fact that while he's a solid scorer, what separates Bradley being a smaller shooting guard is his handle and ability to create his own shot. Had McCants had those attributes, he'd be an all-star, but he really did nothing else at all, not even smile, which brings me to stunt number 2, on an island. Rashad McCants was either the worst person to be around or was super paranoid because for some reason, although he had everything players dreamed of at that point, he still saw himself as the most hated guy that everyone was out to get. It made him become a loner that allowed his thoughts to control his decisions, and it led him to further isolation. As a sophomore, his scoring shot through the roof as he led the conference in scoring and this time taking his team to the NCAA tournament. That year to me was where he showed he could really play the game on the offensive end and shown some effort on defense as well. The team got to the second round but was defeated by Texas and sent home. Should he have left that season? I think he should have, but you have to understand, this just wasn't a popular thing back then. Staying at UNC was not that bad according to what he would later reveal, and also the team had a real chance of getting it done had he come back. He did, and with the addition of Marvin Williams, the Tar Heels took off and made it all the way to the NCAA championship game, where they defeated a Darren Williams Illinois team. Before that season, he was invited to practice with the USA national team, but just a few days in was sent back home by Coach Sampson for attitude-related issues. McCants averaged 16.4 points per game that season and would leave for the NBA soon after, but with no friendships or allies seemingly intact. He was drafted by the Minnesota Timberwolves with the 14th pick, went into a team that had KG, a young productive Ricky Davis, Wally Zerviak, who was a borderline all-star shooting 40 from 3, 48 from the field, and averaging 19 points a game. McCants didn't see much time, along with a few nagging injuries, and had a very disappointing rookie season where he played just 17 minutes a game and averaged 7.9 points, and like we mentioned earlier, nothing else at all. His second season was more of the same. Then he would finally show why he was considered one of the best in his class in his third year, averaging a career high 14.9 points a game, shooting 40 from 3 and 45 from the field in just 26 minutes a game. But McCants still had that attitude where he refused to get excited for his teammates, show enthusiasm, and be a good teammate on the floor and in the locker room. His father was quoted saying, "Is smiling a prerequisite to play basketball?" No, it's not, Mr. McCants, but it sure helps you build relationships with people around you and allows them to trust you as well. But this wasn't his final act of pushing people away, as he Tom Hanks'd his own island. Stunt number 3, excuses, delusion, selfish, blackballed. Pick either of those and it could be attributed to Rashad McCants. For some reason, McCants thought the world was out to get him. Maybe it was the McDonald's All-American, or the scholarship to a dream school in UNC, or maybe it was the national championship run in 04-05. Could have been the lottery selection to a team that could have used your scoring abilities had you have a better attitude. Something jaded McCants, and it led him to making all sorts of excuses for his locker room damaging behavior and selfish reactions. Antoine Jameson even went on to call Rashad, quote, a clown. Why, you ask? Well, you see, after being traded to the Kings, being released by the Rockets for injury reasons, not reporting to the Cavs training camp for personal reasons, released from the Mavs training camp roster, and officially being done as an NBA player in 2010, McCants wasted no time to blast he and Jameson's alma mater UNC for fraudulent practices, which included tutors writing papers to classes that were complete cover-ups that allowed the athlete to stay eligible. Why would McCants do this? Well, according to Jameson, to get some clout, of course. Gets lonely on that island, you know. Either way, McCants' claims ultimately went nowhere, as UNC is still one of the most coveted schools that top recruits are fighting to attend. As for McCants, he never saw another NBA season, and in 2017 was last seen winning the MVP for the Big Three League after being the #1 pick in their draft. But that was expected. Dude had major talent, but because of these reasons, that talent was by some means wasted. It's your boy JC Stunted Growth, and I'm out.